Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Tyler Evans from Arete Chiropractic in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Today we are doing our research moment on a paper that was published in the article or the Journal of Chiropractic and Osteopathy in 2015. The title of the paper is Reflex Control of the Spine and Posture, a review of the literature from a chiropractic perspective. This paper was headed up by what we call the Chiropractic Biophysics Technique Group. Burl Pettibon is the big name on this paper. He was at one point in time an upper cervical chiropractor and then developed his own technique on posture and how that relates to chiropractic and spinal health. And so this is a great paper that breaks down the literature. So they actually go through and do a review of the literature. They cite 192 papers that are not just chiropractic papers, but they are everything from, they list the topics that they searched in Medline and PubMed and all of the peer-reviewed literature journals as well as textbooks. They searched the topics of posture, ocular, vestibular, cervical, facet joint, afferents, vestibulocolic, cervical colic, and postural reflexes, spaceflight, microgravity, weightlessness, gravity, and postural. Those were all the topics that they studied. And so what they did was they reviewed all those topics, brought it all together in a chiropractic sense to explain how chiropractors get some of the changes in posture that they get and why chiropractic is so effective at changing the balance of the body in gravity, either side to side or front to back, like this way. So, and why that's important, because chiropractic, the first chiropractic patient received his first adjustment and regained his hearing. And that set the chiropractic profession down a track of working on the nervous system, focusing on how the brain controls the body through the spine and aligning the spine to allow the nervous system to function better. And so a lot of times chiropractic gets pigeonholed into this like move a bone, take pressure off nerves to make the brain communicate to the body better. Well, that's maybe part of the story, but there's a much bigger part of the story that has to do with how we are evolved and form over our lifetime and evolved over millions of years. So the human body has developed to sustain its posture in gravity. That is the one constant that we have in our lives throughout our entire lives is gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared. And so that force is constantly pushing down on us, whether we like it or know it or not. And what we see is that our body actually develops to maintain strength and posture in that constant stress. And so it starts early on. It starts when we're in the womb. And when we're in the womb, we have this nice C-shaped curve in our spine here. And then as we come out and we start to develop, the first thing we develop is this curve in our neck. It's called the cervical curve. It's important that you have that curve. And then the second set of curves that you develop are the lumbar curves. So as you start to crawl and walk. Now, those curves are there in a sagittal direction, so what we call sagittal direction, so sliced this way. It actually looks something like this. So a good curve in the neck, a good curve in the low back, and a curve in the mid back. And so those support us in gravity, and our muscles attach to them so that when we walk around, we have the greatest ability to produce strength and stand upright so that all of our body functions. Now, there's three or four different ways that all the systems in our body interact to maintain that. It's not just that our skeleton holds us up in gravity and our muscles hold things. It's done by these checks and balances, kind of like the government. We have checks and balances. Well, it's not just one system, it's many systems functioning together. And what we find is that chiropractic is really good at getting in there and finding where these systems are off and getting them back to a more normalized functional level. So the main systems are what we call the vestibular system, or the inner ear here. We have the ocular system, the eyes, and then we also have the proprioceptive system, which is in the joints, the muscles, and in the connective tissues. And so there's all these little GPS units in the connective tissues that tell our brain where things are at in space. So all of these systems talk together, and when they don't, our body doesn't work right. Because to maintain in gravity, we need all this information constantly coming in and balancing from right to left and front to back. So this paper goes through and it describes how posture, when it deviates from normal, so your head normally weighs about 10 to 12 pounds, and when it comes off from center, it starts to place more weight on the rest of your body further and further, as well as this direction here. So shoulders will go off, head will tilt, and hips will come out, and it'll create a short leg on one side. So that's what chiropractors are trying to fix all the time, is we're trying to balance this. Now, the vestibular and the ocular systems and the proprioceptive systems, so the joints, the muscles, and the connective tissues, bring all this information together so that those bad postures don't happen. And chiropractors work with that to bring it back to center. And what they talk about in this paper is that the cervical spine tends to have more input over those systems than any other part of the body. There's a couple of different direct neurological connections that influence that in the cervical spine. So one of those is the vestibular spinal tract. Let's see here. Yes, so the vestibulospinal tract and the vestibular, it's the vestibular spinal and the corticospinal tracts, and those directly relate through the upper cervical and the cervical spine. And also we have the proprioception in the joints, in the suboccipital muscles here, are greater than any other part of the body. So when we change this, when we influence these muscles, so that's what upper cervical chiropractors focus on, we can actually shift the entire spine, because those muscles right at the base of the skull, they have more input than any other muscle systems in the body. The reflex control there is so much greater. And so that's why upper cervical chiropractic is a very effective tool for balancing the entire body, because when the head tilts off, the inner ear starts to send bad information to the brain about what's going on in space. The eyes aren't talking right to the brain. What we find is that if we can balance this joint here, get the head back on straight, it will normalize what's happening in the inner ear and in the eyes and in the receptors in the neck and the cervical spine, sending that information up. So, again, a lot of great information in this paper. Again, it was called The Reflex Control of the Spine and Posture, a review of the literature from a chiropractic perspective. And that paper is about 15 pages long, so it's got a lot of really great references in it. It just talks a lot about how the spine drives posture through gravity up and into the brain. And so if we can balance that spine, it'll help balance the brain. Chiropractic is not just about back pain or neck pain. It's about brain health. So we're working to balance the brain by balancing the posture. And again, Dr. Tyler Evans from Arete Chiropractic. So if you're struggling out there with your posture, if you're struggling with your health, posture and health are very directly connected. And in an upper cervical chiropractic office, is what we do is we go right to the source of those postural distortions, that reset button in the upper neck. So if you have questions, give us a call, 603-380-9184 at Arete Chiropractic. And this is Dr. Tyler Evans. Have a great day.